all ready, waiting for us to go live? Hello. Sorry guys for the technical hitch. I hope all of you can hear me from wherever you are. Hello and good evening. This is the debate night brought to you by Cabdio Voices that is happening live on our YouTube
We are not listening.
Mr. Moderator, we can't hear you.
Check your network.
I'm not getting you.
We can't hear you. Probably the fellow debaters, as we wait for the moderator to fix his gadget. Okay. We can't hear you, Mr. Derek. Because we are live right now anyway, and I know quite a number of people are watching. Flora, are you looking forward to this debate? as we wait for Derek to fix his device.
Sure, I am. I believe by the end of it, both parties would have grasped one thing or another, would have learned one thing or another from each other. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the debate.
And the hype was real. Professor even took it personal with me, but anyway, we are here waiting for this debate.
It's never that serious. It's just a matter of sharing. Like, we're just studying on different sides, having different opinions. At the end of it, we'll get to see a different perspective of things, and you'll also get to see a different perspective of things.
Yeah, wonderful. And of course, my fellow debater, Lynn Agoya. We've really, but to be very honest, we've really prepared for this motion because one thing that we also believe in as a team, that debates must be fun, and that's not what we want to give the audience today. Let's just make this debate fun, you know. Mr. Moderator, you're back? Mr. Moderator, you're back?
I think this is some of the reasons why let me not say what I wanted to say. It won't come out nicely.
Just say.
I choose peace tonight. I choose peace.
You choose peace.
It's also just wonderful that finally meeting also Professor Weshuli here for the first time for a debate. Professor, this is the first one that I'm interacting with you, and I'm really happy about this. There's been a life of threats for the past 1 week. Tonight, we have to show the public why all these threats. Even as we wait for the moderator to fix his gadget, I hope he's back now.
Sorry for that. I think my laptop has an issue, but I've decided to join with my phone, and I'm all ready for this. Thank you so much for you guys for waiting, and I think we are ready and set for this motion. Hello and good evening from wherever you're watching us from. Today we're here for the debate night to discuss the motion on public gatherings and schools should remain suspended until we combat COVID-19. I don't know what you think about this motion, but tonight we have guests from different places across the country to discuss this motion and probably tell us their view about the said motion. So without wasting time, allow me to welcome all our speakers with the introductory bit where we will allow them to tell us who they are, where they're coming from, where they're joining us from, and maybe why they strongly believe in where they stand for. The first speaker from the proposing team, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lynette Agoya, and I'm joining you all the way from Migori County. And today, my team is proposing the motion of today: schools and public gatherings should remain suspended until we combat COVID-19. By proposing this motion, we do not mean that learning and education should stop. Neither do we mean that there should be no gatherings at all. What we do not want is these public gatherings, and mark the word public. And also, we do not want students to go to school. And remember, we are only suspending them until we reduce or prevent COVID-19 from spreading. And that is why I'm very proud to propose this motion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Agoya. Thank you so much. And to the opposing team, the first speaker, you can briefly introduce yourself. Your 1 minute starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Professor Joshua Shuli. I'm here to oppose this motion that says public gathering in schools should be suspended until we combat COVID-19. I've taken this position because I do believe that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in time of comfort and convenience, but rather where he stands in time of trouble, in times of challenges and controversy. I like the words of Martin Luther when he once said that our lives begin to end when we keep quiet about the things that matter. And so that's why tonight I could not keep my tongue in the pocket just to overlook this idea, which is appearing to be of the product of this idea is actually a negative impact on the life of the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Wechuli, the self-proclaimed professor. I can see you've quoted Martin Luther King. Thank you so much. We go straight to the second speaker, proposing team. You can briefly introduce yourself and tell us why probably you stand to propose the motion.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thanks for having us on this great show, the debate night. My name is Okoth Opondo. Today, I'm not coming in as a moderator, but I'm coming in as a debater. And a debater in this sense, I'm proposing the motion with my partner, the beautiful debater, Lynn Agoya, joining us all the way from Migori County. And we are here today to tell you that indeed it matters at times to take the big sacrifice because it is necessary. If I use the same words of Martin Luther King that my good friend, Professor Wechuli, has quoted, he says that a time comes that it is not good to be silent about things that matter. Yes, the things that matter at this defining moment is that we take the right actions to fight COVID-19. That's why I'm vehemently proposing this motion tonight.
Thank you so much. We go straight to the second speaker of the opposing team. Introduce yourself and probably tell us why you stand to oppose this motion.
Okay, I'll start by stating why I stand to oppose this motion. I believe no one has ever died by looking at life positively, and definitely we won't be the first ones to do so. But our proposers, our opponents, will definitely do so if they continue standing wherever they are standing at this particular moment. My name is Josephine Flora. I'm tuning in from Kiambu County, Kikuyu, and I'm here to strongly challenge the motion that states public gatherings and schools should remain suspended to combat COVID-19. I believe we need our economy the same way we need the schools and public gatherings to go on. So which one do we save? Do we save schools or do we save the economy? Don't worry, we're here to provide you with the answers. Tune in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Justin Flora, and thank you so much to all of you who are joining us live on our YouTube page. My name is Derek Weda and I'll be your host for today's show. And tonight we are here to discuss this interesting motion that you have heard from our speakers. Public gatherings and schools should remain suspended until we combat COVID-19. They say it is the fear that is dangerous. Fear is the most dangerous thing you can ever have as a human being. And we must have the courage to fight our battles and to soldier on. And tonight, I think we have men and women who have believed in themselves and they are ready here to share ideas that are going to make our country better and, soldier on to make things better in the lives of many citizens across the globe. Without wasting time, I will invite the first speaker from the proposing team who will take 5 minutes to briefly tell us why she believes schools and public gatherings must remain suspended until the government of Kenya combats COVID-19. Lynette Agoya, your 5 minutes starts now.
Thank you so much. The reason why I believe that schools and public gatherings should remain suspended until we combat COVID-19, it is because the risk of disease transmission, it is much higher in a larger groups of people than in fewer groups of people. And avoiding these gatherings is generally in the best interest of protecting ourselves, our loved ones, and the whole community at large. Like I said before, when we say that there should be no schools and public gatherings, we are not strictly saying that there should be no gatherings at all. Neither are we saying that learning should stop. I want you to remember that a school is an institution where students go to learn. While learning, it's a process that takes place in this school. So when schools have been suspended, it doesn't mean that learning can't take place. Learning can still take place. Our children can still get their education. Remember that technology has advanced and they can still get their education via online through apps like Zooms and podcasts. In addition to that, the money that the government uses to buy desks, budgeting for the school programs, such as constructing new classrooms, buying new books for the students. This money, the government can use to buy gadgets for these students so that they can attend their classes online instead of going to this school. By not going to school, it doesn't mean that your child cannot learn. And when we do this, we'll minimize the amount of close contact we have with others. Hence, it will help us reduce the chances of spreading this virus to the community. I want you to understand that when the Ministry of Health, together with the government, suspend these gatherings, it's because it is sure that it is hard for people to observe these COVID-19 rules, especially in mass gatherings. Some people will say that let these students just go to school, they will wash their hands, they will sanitize, they will put on their face mask. This won't help because these students, they will still be at a higher risk of contacting the virus. Most students, especially pre-primary students and primary students, they are at a higher risk of contacting these diseases because these kids need to be reminded every time that, Wilda, go to the toilet. After the toilet, you should wash your hands. Wilda, sanitize. Wilda, wear your mask. These kids need to be reminded every time. And do you want to tell me that these teachers will be doing this every time? It is so hard for these students to be safe while they are in school. And that is why we are saying that learning should go on, but they should just remain at home. Another point is that by avoiding public gatherings and observing COVID-19 measures, it will help us flatten the curve. Flattening the curve is a public health strategy to slow down the spread of coronavirus. It also refers to community isolation measures that keep the daily number of cases at a manageable level for medical providers. We can also flatten the curve when we avoid these mass gatherings, these public gatherings. These public gatherings can go on, but it should not be that public. Remember that a public gathering is a gathering that has so many people, like political rallies, sports. And so we want to avoid this public gathering. We should have a gathering where the number of people can be like a maximum of 10 to 15 people in order to prevent this spread. Remember that it is easier to control a small group of people than a large group of people. People can still attend these wedding ceremonies and funeral parties, but we should ensure that the maximum number of people is 10 to 15. You know, you can go to a party, but when people are fewer, you can test these people. You can ensure that these people are safe because they are fewer, and it's easy to follow those measures of COVID-19. We are not saying that Josephine should not wed Joshua. Of course, you can just wed Joshua, but you can still go on with your wedding as long as you ensure your wedding has fewer people. When these people are fewer, you can ensure they have masks, they have sanitized, they have washed their hands. It's so easy to control these measures than in larger groups of people. When people are in a large group of people, it's so high, it's so dangerous for them to contract these measures. And by doing this, we'll have killed two birds with the same stone. Gatherings will still go on, and also we will have controlled the measures of COVID-19 by social distancing. So opposers today, I want you to open your minds and listen to us and join us. We are telling you real facts that will help us bring this country somewhere better. And this social distancing and public gatherings being suspended, it has really worked in the North Carolina. They tried this.
Time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynette Agoya. Thank you so much. I think you have utilized your 5 minutes well. To the first speaker, opposing team, your 5 minutes begin now. Probably try to convince us why you believe we should not stand for this motion and think otherwise. Joshua, your 5 minutes begins now.
Thank you. I will start again the words of Martin Luther when he said that even if I knew that tomorrow the world will be in pieces, I will still wake up, go and plant my apple tree. Public gathering, to my understanding, this is a gathering at which more than 10 people or more than 10 individuals are to be present. And this happens in a public location or in a private location where the public is allowed to access. And if today we are saying that let public gathering and schools be suspended until we combat this COVID-19, I believe that suspending is temporarily stopping something until a certain condition is met. But now the question is, when will this COVID-19 be combated? I'm strongly opposing this idea because apart from saying that North Carolina has used this idea and succeeded, but majority of the nations which were faced by this pandemic have employed this idea, but still it is not working. It does not mean that as Africans, we have to copy everything from the Western countries. Being that the pandemic came from the Western countries, it does not mean that we have also to follow the same tactics that they are using to fight this pandemic for us to be able to combat it. Remember, it is a common problem in the globe, but we can use different paths for we to be able to combat this COVID-19. I'm looking at this point that also it is good to see an opportunity in a problem, that as Africans, we can be independent-minded to sit down and critically analyze this problem, that which will help us to be creative and innovative enough for us to come up with a lasting solution to this pandemic. When we say we are closing public gatherings, are we checking the living standards of people in our nation compared to those nations which have utilized the same procedure? Because you cannot compare the life that people are living here in Kenya and the life that people are living there in the United States of America. So let us not utilize something without understanding how the base of that thing is. See, the sustainability, how can we sustain our people when we have told them that there will be no public gathering? How are our people capable of being able to sustain themselves in those homes, as it is said, you sit there? I was looking at this idea. It is like somebody has done a an assignment is given by a teacher. One student does the assignment, he goes and fails, comes back, sits down while he's still wondering on what to do. Another one comes, here there is an assignment. He also picks the assignment, looks at what this other one has done and failed. He also follows the same procedure, expecting that he's going to have positive results. Public gathering and schools should not be suspended until we combat COVID-19. My friend, check on education, how it is being interfered with. Yet our sustainable development goal, number 4, we say quality education. How are we going to achieve that if we are closing down schools? And if we say online studies, all the government is doing what? But has the government done anything to help people in the remote areas? How will you obtain those gadgets, the smartphone, the laptops? How are those people going to be able to access the online studies? Remember, bundles are needed, electricity is needed. There is so much that is needed for them to be able to attend those online studies. You know, I'm not speaking as a matter of research on the internet, but I'm speaking as a matter of observation and research, observation and experience. I've been in a school whereby I see there is so many students who depended on that meal that they used to take in school for them to survive on. But now we have come up to close these schools and we have sent these students back at home. There are parents who are going to the market to look for something to provide for them, at least to put something on the table for them to have. You are telling them no public gathering, don't go to the market. We are closing down those. So we are turning our country into chaos whereby markets have turned up to be fighting battles, policemen running all over with business people who are trying to look for something for their families. So what kind of a life, what kind of a country will we be doing? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joshua Wechuli. Very passionate speaker. We've seen that. Thank you so much. Allow me at this juncture to welcome the second speaker proposing team, Okoth, to probably share his views about this motion and maybe tell us why he believes in that. In the meantime, all those who have questions, kindly prepare, as we will have an opportunity to ask questions immediately after the second speaker on the opposing team submits her remarks. Okoth, your 5 minutes begins now.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And it's always good to listen to people who are very passionate about what they're talking, speak. But also remember that only weak messages are given to strong messengers. Good messages don't even need these strong messengers. I listened to Professor Wechuli speak, and indeed he's speaking like a professor, because my team is presenting issues right from the ground. It is the late Professor George Saitoti who said, a time comes that the national interest should override individual interest. We are here talking about combating COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not something to joke around with. This is something that has brought the whole world to a standstill. Yes, we could not even imagine at any given time in our lives that planes could stop operating, that schools could be stopped, that business could be stopped, that churches could be closed, that parties could be closed, and some of our busy cities would automatically become deserted. We have to be very honest about ourselves in this kind of debates. And I'm asking the opposers, please leave the emotions aside. Let's face the reality on the ground. Take your emotions and put them aside and let us debate as gentlemen and ladies on this panel. So, you all remember last year when the news was about China, we all talked about Wuhan, how it came, and we are yet, you as the opposers are yet to tell us how did China manage the situation in Wuhan, China. Remember when Italy and Spain were the stories every day? 900 people, 1,000 people dying every day. What did Italy and Spain do right that we need to copy and do immediately in our countries? Remember when the story was the United States of America? Yes, that was another big story. Talk about the United Kingdom. When matches were stopped for some who love football like myself here, and when the matches resumed without fans in the stadiums. And until some things were done correctly, that is when people went back to the stadium. Now, let's go to Asia. You've heard of the story of India and how it became a story. Early in the beginning of this year, India believed that upon being one of the countries that came up with the vaccine, now they were free to do whatever they wanted to do. India went ahead to start doing these big and massive festivals, the religious festivals. In fact, the Prime Minister has been criticized by the opposition in India for going on with the campaigns towards an election in the middle of what happened to India later. This is the country that got in the history of COVID, registering over 300,000 cases of COVID in one single day. Today, as we speak, India has gone to the extent of registering 4,000 deaths, 3,000 deaths in one single day. Coming back to this country, because the motion is about our country in the Republic of Kenya, but we have to refer to what is happening on the other side. The opposers should be very careful not to force us that it is either their way or the highway. We have to agree that this being a scientific matter, we are not going to devise our own ways of handling this. My fellow debater and my teammate, Lynn Agoya, started by telling you what we mean by suspending public gatherings. I would like to be in a gathering, but we are saying that we are not against gatherings. We are against public gatherings. We are saying we are not stopping learning and education. We are stopping school. What is the reason as to why we are stopping all these things? Because these are the places where people are exposed to different kinds of contact. So the three major ways, or the three principal ways that exposure occurs, and I want to read as per the World Health Organization and the task force that have been formed in different nations to manage COVID-19. Number one, inhalation of the very fine respiratory droplets. Number two, deposition of respiratory droplets and particles on exposed mucous membranes in the mouth, nose, or eye by direct splashes and sprays. Number three, touching mucous membranes with hands that have been soiled. The different departments of the different ministries of the different organizations have gone ahead to propose some of the best ways to handle the spread of COVID-19. And we've been told that social distancing is one of them. I want to ask you today on this panel, Professor Weshuli, and your colleague, Josephine Flora, how are we able to keep a 1 meter social distance in a gathering? How is that even possible? When we are proposing that it is possible to do things the other way, what we are challenging you as young people, and as, of course, as the leaders of today, schooling cannot only happen in structures. Schooling can happen away from home. That gathering cannot only happen the way they happen. We are proposing that there are better ways to do things. There are better ways to do weddings. People can do a small wedding in a church, but streamline so that relatives and everyone want to follow can follow. One teacher can be based somewhere and teach kids on live podcasts and
5 minutes.
Live Zooms. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put emotions aside and debate like gentlemen and ladies. Thank you.
Let us put our emotions aside and debate as ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your submission. At this juncture, allow me to welcome in Josephine Flora to share her submissions on why she strongly believes that this is not the right way for us to stand for this motion. Flora, your 5 minutes begins right now. Your time to convince us is now.
Okay. Those are good submissions from the proposers, and I'll start by saying, if I'm reading the motion right, it's saying schools and public gatherings should remain suspended until we combat COVID-19. There's nowhere we are being told about physical learning, and when you tell us about online learning, it's still schooling. So that's school. It's just a school that's online. So you're not giving us a solution. It's like you're changing the motion to physical learning. There's nothing like physical learning in our motion. And my colleague had touched about suspending or is to stop temporarily. So my question is it logical to suspend learning? Is it even making sense to suspend learning? And I think Lynn had said this, and at that point, I felt like she was crossing the floor. When we say to stop temporarily, we don't know when Corona will end. We don't know how long Corona is going to take. So should we really suspend schooling, or should we relax some measures and allow schooling to go on, but then under certain conditions? We know what is required to prevent corona. We know the measures that need to be put in place to prevent corona. How does that affect schooling? If we make sure our schools have enough water, these children are sanitizing, and the necessary precautions are being taken, what will stop schooling from taking place? I'm currently teaching in a school, and so far we've had no case of COVID-19 since January. Schooling has been going on, no case of corona. Why? The necessary precautions and measures have been taken care of. Anyway, and to my first point, I started by stating that we need to first see things from a different angle, and sometimes it's good to learn to adjust with the things that are there on the ground. You look at, according to the World Bank report, in 2019, the economic growth of Kenya stood at 5.7%. And then in 2020, it decreased to 1.4%. What does this state? This came during the lockdown, during the corona period. And with public gatherings and schools being closed down, a lot of things are being affected. You'll notice that's when people lose their jobs, because you'll get most people with public gatherings. I believe even in a matatu, that's a public gathering, right? So when you're telling us public gathering cannot take place, it's like we are stopping some people from going to work, which eventually affects our economy. We are stopping some schools from operating, that's the private schools. We have people that are earning from the schools. So when it stops, it means income stops flowing in our economy. And then we should also get to understand that corona is a virus, just like any other virus. We've learned to live with HIV. Why can't we learn to live with corona? Why suspend things? Till when are we going to suspend things? It's now 2 years. Will we keep on suspending things 2 months, 1 month? Why can't we just learn to live with it and put up with the necessary precautions that need to be put in place? Like if we look at the state of affairs during the lockdown in 2020, it was not a sight. The rate of crime increased from 57.73 to 66.69. That's a very great increase. People were dying left, right, and center. People were stealing from each other. Why? Things stopped. And when a man is idle, trust you me, we are better off. Human beings are better off active and doing something. But then when you suspend things, children are at home, things are not working out, people are losing out on their jobs, what happens? It results to crime. We suspended schools. What happened? The statistics of pregnancies increased. That is during the lockdown. The pregnancies increased up to 152,000 cases, which is a 40% increase compared to the previous statistics. What does that tell? Schools play a big role in ensuring that students are in a safer place. Our students are safer in school than outside. So what can we do to make sure we stop such cases? Let the students stay in school and let's adjust with the new normal. It's here to stay with us, and that is the new normal. Learn to adjust. You cannot keep on suspending things. Only cowards keep on suspending things, and I believe we are not one. We can do better. Let's learn to adjust. We cannot keep on suspending. At this juncture, we're not supposed to be talking about suspension. It's 2 years. We ought to have learned to adjust. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My goodness, you can see, you can feel the oomph, you can feel the energy, excitement, and the points submitted from the first speaker, the second speaker, the third speaker. We can see you quoting the great men and women and believing somebody saying, cowardly, we cannot keep on suspending things. It's only the coward who keep on suspending. I don't know what you think about this conversation. I don't know what you think already about this debate. I don't know if you have been persuaded to take any kind of a side, but this is your time right now to give your points, or rather to share your questions with us, probably among the members who are part of this call. You can go ahead and probably ask a question to either the proposing team or the opposing team, so that your answer can be responded to. Kindly, Sabion, mute your microphone. The first person who has a question to either the proposing team or the opposing team, feel free to ask the question.
I have a question. Can I just go ahead?
Go ahead, Mr. Umukoko.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think the proposition has made it clear that we need to suspend public schools, schools and gatherings, and public gatherings for that matter. And the question that comes to mind is, are you assuming that COVID will just go away on its own? Or what are the other measures that you have in place such that when we suspend schools, what else will we be doing? Because in my opinion, it's better to have a safe school environment and safe necessary public events rather than just canceling them. And the success stories of COVID are stories where schools continue to operate, but in a safe way. And one of the advantages we have with schools is that we bring together young people. And when these young people are brought together, then I think that's an opportunity to develop hard immunity.
Kindly.
One of them.
Sorry to cut you short,
Thank
but
you.
please. Okay, thank you so much. I hope that question is clear to the team. In case it's not clear, you can ask for him to repeat the question. Any member of the public who has a question? Any member of the public who has a question?
Yeah, so check the chats.
Okay. I can see Simon. Is coronavirus really the same as HIV? Should we really learn to live with it if we can effectively contain it and with a little elbow greater beat it? I don't know if I got that question correct. Is coronavirus really the same as HIV? Should we really learn to live with it if we can effectively contain it and with a little elbow grease beat it? I don't know if that question is correct. You didn't say whether you're sending this question to the proposers or the proposers. Kindly be specific to the person you are asking the question. Any other person? Simon, kindly specify the target audience for your question. That is Josephine Flora, the opposing team. Thank you so much. Any question to the proposing team? In case you have a question, not unless we want them to have a smooth ride all the way. Any member of the public who has a question to the proposing team, that is to Okoth and Joshua Wechuli.
Jeremy Atambo's hand is up.
Jeremy Atambo, kindly proceed. Atambo, if you can hear me, please proceed with your question. Let me assume maybe some technical hitches. Any other person maybe who has a question to the proposing team? I don't know whether they were too good for this conversation for the first round so that we don't, I can't see any more question on the chat box. For that case, I will jump in straight to the proposing team, either of the speaker to take the first 3 minutes to either counter the speakers and as well respond to the questions asked by the public. Either Okoth or Lynette, your 3 minutes starts now.
I'll go first. We were asked that, are we assuming that this COVID-19 will just go away or are we going to stay with it? We are not sure about the date or time that this virus is going to leave us. And that is why we said that we should start attending online classes. Students should be bought for gadgets so that they can attend their online classes at home without going to these schools. And about the gatherings, we were advocating that if there must be a gathering, it should be about a maximum of 10 to 15 people. I bet we were clear during when we were presenting our points and you didn't get us clearly. We said students should have their online classes while gathering should have a maximum of 10 to 15 people. And another one was, I would like to tell Josephine that HIV virus and coronavirus are two different things. Remember that coronavirus can be spread the way coronavirus is being spread is not the way HIV virus is being spread. So stop comparing HIV virus to coronavirus. They are two different things. And to Eshuli, you asked us that, are we checking the living standards of people? Yes. Why are you risking your life to go to school just because you want to get a meal? Ending up being sick because of this coronavirus, you end up dying. Why risk your life? You want to go to job, you want to go to job, you want to go to school, you want to go to the market. Why risk your life? And the end of it all, you'll end up contacting this disease and dying, even without achieving your goal. Why risk your life? Stay back at home until all the things are safe, so that you can go to school when everything is okay, so that you can go to your job when everything is okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Let us go back to school when everything is okay. We should not compare COVID-19 to HIV and AIDS virus, or rather HIV/AIDS. Thank you so much for your powerful and passionate submission. Though you didn't utilize all the 3 minutes you had, we jump in straight to the opposing team. The first speaker or the second speaker, you can proceed and counter and as well answer the questions asked by general public. The speaker,
Yeah.
you have 3 minutes to go.
I think I'll go then. I'll allow Weshuli to also go and leave some minutes for him. So yeah, Lynn is saying that I shouldn't compare HIV to coronavirus. I think she needs to go back and check the history of HIV, how it came about, the stigma that HIV came with. Most people were literally afraid of HIV. The situation was more likely the same with that of corona. But what happened? We learned to adjust to live with it. I'm not saying HIV is the same as corona. Of course, these are two different viruses. But if we learn to adjust to HIV, we definitely can learn to adjust with coronavirus in place. And then I think from there, I'll go to my other point. There's something I needed to say before I finish. The thing on the living standards. Yes, Lynn, the living standards of people really matter. I started by saying our economy is at stake here. We need to check our economy. The same way we need to look at the schools and public gathering is the same way we need to look at the state of our economy. More than 2/3 of our households are experiencing shortage in income, which has worsened our living conditions. What happens if you are telling people to stay at home? They're supposed to be in school teaching. People are at home, they are not working, they are depressed, people are dying. So you prefer people dying of depression over coronavirus? I think we need to set our priorities right here. You cannot prioritize me. You cannot force me to stay at home when I can go to school, work, be a teacher that I'm supposed to be, conduct my duties as I'm supposed to be, do cleaning in a school, because we have cleaners in this school that do cleaning and earn a living from that, and still at the same time take care of myself and making sure that I adhere to the COVID-19 regulations. That's what I'm saying. Let's learn to adjust and not suspend. I'll allow my other opposer, my colleague, to go on. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to tell Mr. Okoto Pondo, you should understand that it is the reality that invokes emotion. You know, you are speaking like somebody who is not in this nation, but me, I'm speaking on the side of the common mwananchi, because ideas that are coming up are those ideas of people who are so much insensitive, just favoring the haves and hence increasing the gap between the haves and the have-nots. If schools are to be closed, the only thing that changes is if I'm a student, Okot is a student, we are told go back home. We only change the school uniform, but we shall still be together. So let us not use some things as excuses instead of continuing ahead. This just, if we compare our country with Italy and USA, I've told you, check how the economic stability of those nations that you are comparing with our nation as Kenya. Check of what is happening here and there. Are you also witnessing the chaos that we are seeing around people, the policemen and the businessmen running all over? Do we have a problem of accessing the internet? Do we have a problem of affording those online gadgets? As Lynn was saying that online studies, why don't you consider even the marginalized groups? Why don't you consider the common mwananchi who seems to make the majority part of this nation? We cannot come up with an idea that favors only one side. So
your time
let us
is
not
up.
lack our self-confidence to think that we must follow what others do for we to prosper. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wechuli and Josephine Flora, for the rebuttal and responding to the questions posed to you by the audience. I now go back to the proposing team. You have 3 more minutes to point out more, highlight more points from your end and probably convince us more why you think we should buy in the idea that public gatherings and schools should remain suspended until the government of Kenya combats COVID-19. Your 3 minutes begin right now.
Mr. Moderator, and the two emotional opposers, and I said earlier when I started, put emotions aside. Let's look at the reality. Do not be overwhelmed with the inferiority complex. Who tells you that we cannot compete with the likes of Italy and Spain? In fact, most African nations have done better than the European nations. So do not start comparing ourselves with this. I'm telling you that this being a scientific problem, we cannot run away from tackling it the same way it needs to be tackled. I fear because I'm debating with people who want to go to school to eat. This is very wrong. We are looking at, this is a matter of life and death. Do you want to teach stones in schools? You want to expose children to go to school so that they can die? You'd rather let them go eat in school than stay at home and be safe. Parents must be challenged to work hard and provide for the children. How do they stay at home during the holidays? Let us not stop. Let us stop making this thing about food, about job. The motion is very clear that public gatherings in schools should remain suspended. The word until. The word should remain, it means that it's something that's already happening. Josephine Flora, you've been going to school and teaching, but what is happening is that public gatherings were suspended. If you live in Kenya, you know what I'm talking about. Professor Weshuli, you know what I'm talking about here. Josephine Flora asked a very important question, that when will it end? It will end the time we'll start complying. The time we'll start following the guidelines. We are talking about Kenyans who put masks because of a policeman, not because of COVID-19. Most of us are told to keep social distance in matatus and in the public vans, and we do not adhere to that. Then when we start falling sick and everyone is sick in the country, you go back to the same government that has been talking and you do not want to follow the guidelines. Now here you are even in a public debate, you are still confident enough to lie to people. I expected that by this time you are going to propose the alternative voice of solving. We have presented to you that if we stop mass gatherings, public gatherings in school, we're definitely going to combat COVID-19. We've not said until further notice. We've been very categorical that until we combat it, every day we are conducting, we are doing the press briefings. When we see that the curve is flattening, then we will open up things. Mr. Moderator, just to add on this, let me also let you know that schooling is the service in a school. You don't need to be in a structure to learn. So Madam Josephine, get it right. When you are given homework to go do back at home, you are still going to read. Are you going to school when you're going back home? What I'm saying is that let us avoid going to groups where we can face all this kind of exposure and instead go straight away what needs to be done. We are saying the service is not going to be limited.
Time is up.
Mr. Moderator, because you've not really been fair to us on our side, you denied me 1 minute, Mr. Moderator.
I did not deny anybody time. I think your 3 minutes are over. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your submissions. At this point, again, allow me to give the opposing team 3 minutes to render their final submission on this motion. Whether it's Wechuli or Josephine, your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, I think we'll still go the same way. I'll go, then I'll allow Mr. Weshuli to go on. I understand what Opondo is saying when he says schooling can be done anywhere, but the motion is very clear. Schools and public gathering, sawa sawa. So it's not telling us whether it is physical learning or online learning. It's open. It can be online or physical learning as long as schooling should not be suspended. And then when you tell us we are not offering alternatives, I'm just wondering, what do you mean by that? I started by saying we should not suspend, rather relax some measures. Make sure the schooling is going on, but under certain conditions, like under certain given conditions. It's not like schooling should temporarily be suspended, because you'll keep on temporarily suspending it until what time? When you tell me until the measures have been taken, have been followed, or rather been adhered to, do you think that's the way to solve corona? Is it even making sense to tell me that until the measures have been followed? And why are we suspending schools and public gathering when we have been told that there is what do they call it? An antidote for the virus. So why are we suspending things when it seems that we are working towards a solution? It totally isn't making sense. And yes, Opondo, I started by stating clearly, our economy is at stake here. We need to move forward and not backwards. Sustainability of our families is a very crucial matter. 19 million people have been employed in schools as teachers, workers, and etc. Does it make sense making them stay at home when they can go to school and work under certain measures? It doesn't make sense. We need to think outside the box. We are in a different era, Opondo. Yes, I understand the virus is there, but it's there to stay with us. We also need to learn to stay with it. We cannot keep on going backwards. And when you tell me that we have other means of schooling and doing our gatherings, it seems like we are on the same page. It's still schooling and public gathering going on. They've not been suspended. We've just adjusted to better means. Thank you.
I think what I'll just have to tell my learned proposer at a court.
Because the opposers seem to be having a lot of time.
They still have 35 seconds.
Actually, you'll have, he has already destroyed it. Okay, I'll have to pick 1 minute. So what I was saying is this. What Okot has to understand here is that my concern is the life of the common mwananchi. So we cannot come up with an idea which impacts negatively more than even the disease itself in the lives of Kenyans. It's like we are trying to kill a fly on somebody's wound using a hammer, which will cause more destruction than even the wound itself. So let us look at this idea before we implement it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, passionate speakers submitting passionately, giving us, new ideas on, seeing things from their perspective and, ways in which we can combat the virus. Some are really believing we should not compare our country to other developed countries. Some are saying, well, it is time for us to teach us new tricks. Chinua Achebe, I beg your pardon, once said that since men have learned to shoot without missing, birds have also learned to fly without patching. And maybe it is time, maybe it is not time. I don't know what you think about this motion as an audience. Do you think it is time the government should temporarily or suspend public gatherings and schooling until we combat COVID-19? I don't know if you have been convinced by the proposers or by the opposers, but maybe, just maybe, somebody has convinced you otherwise. This juncture will allow every speaker to have 1 minute to give their final submission on this motion so that we can know maybe who has convinced us more. It will be upon you as an audience, or rather as our audience from wherever you're watching us from, to tell whether you think it is time to be suspending things as far as COVID-19 is concerned, or we should learn a way of surviving with the virus. To the proposing team, your 1 minute begins now. Proposing team. Okoth, Opondo, and Lynette Agoya, if you can hear me.
Maybe you can check if Lynn is on the panel because she's the first speaker.
Because I can't see her. Maybe Okoth, you can go first because of time.
Mr. Moderator, can I kindly utilize the 2 minutes because she's not on the panel?
Please go on.
Okay, thank you. So I think just to do some justice for the respect of the people who asked the question, I'll be very fast within the 2 minutes. Mr. Mukoko had raised a question on Will the virus just disappear because we suspended the gatherings in schools? The answer is no. But we are recommending that when we suspend the gatherings and the school is suspended, that's the time that we will do mass testing to know who are the people who are positive and those who are negative, so that we do the correct isolation. That's the exact time that we also use to do mass vaccination, because we do not want those things to remain permanent. By the end of the day, we have to come back. Let's use that as a mechanism to address the situation at hand. Lastly, just remind everyone who is debating here and everyone who is watching, human beings were among the weakest creatures in the world. We are born when we cannot walk. We are born when we cannot talk. Cows, upon being born, I mean, the cow upon dropping on the ground, it can walk, it can even start feeding on its own. We do not have wings, yet we can fly from one country to another. We do not have gills, and yet we can survive in water. This is the thing. Let us stop fear thinking. Let's just have our reasoning correct. This is an opportunity for us to change how we are doing things. I'm saying we are stopping the structures from operating. We are not pulling out the service of education. Everyone wants to learn. We have to keep impacting knowledge in our young people. I'm saying that let us avoid public gathering. That has nothing to do with work. People can still keep going to work. What we are saying, let us avoid unnecessary public gatherings, because you do not know who you are interacting with. You do not know where this person is coming from. When that is avoided, we avoid that exposure that is already posing us at the biggest risk to the transmission of COVID-19. And with all that, I still insist that we are vehemently proposing this motion. And even if it will come back again and again and again, our stand will remain that quite clear going on forward.
Time is up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your powerful submission. Allow me now to welcome the opposing team. You have 2 minutes, 1 minute for each speaker, whether it's Wechuli or Jocelyn. Your 1 minute begins right now.
Okay, I will start by saying that COVID-19 is not the first nor the last pandemic to strike this world. So we should not live as if now this is the only problem that we have ever met, or that we are going to meet in the rest of our lives. And I will finalize by the words of Martin Luther when he said that if you cannot fly, then run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. That whatever you do, make sure you are moving forward. And so I still stand against this idea that suspending schools and public gathering until we combat COVID-19, because I still stand on the side of the common mwananchi, who is to suffer greatly as the impact of utilizing or implementing this idea. I rest my case.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jocelyn Flora, from wherever you are, kindly, your 1 minute begins right now.
Okay. First of all, the kind of solutions and way forward that Opondo is putting forward, I think they're very much irrelevant at this juncture. It's 2 years down the line. The issue of telling us that we should suspend things because we need to, I don't know, take what and do all those things that he's saying, that ought to have been done the first few months. Right now, we need to be learning how to adjust and not start going back and suspending things. So I am really not thinking that's necessary. It's 2 years. People ought to have learned to adjust. It's very much irrelevant. Life is a continuous process of adjustment, and therefore the only way to survive is learning how to adjust and not to suspend. Thank you.
The only way to learn is to learn to adjust and not suspend. Powerful, powerful, powerful. I don't know what to think about these amazing speakers. I thought I was going to wear my coat, but based on that debate, I think I've been sweating all through. I've been switching off my video to keep on wiping my sweat. It has been a heated debate. We have seen speakers quoting speaker from speaker, Martin Luther King, and so many other people across the globe who, influence us in one way or the other. I don't know what to think from wherever you've been watching us from. I don't know whether I should give one of the panelists who was not really a debater an opportunity maybe to say a word based on what they think about the entire motion. Omugoko, I can give you a minute.
Thank you very much. I think the debate
Your
was very
view
powerful.
on the motion.
Yeah, I think the motion was very good. My thoughts were that we need to provide space for a safe environment. Rather than suspending everything, how do we make our schools safe? How do we make public gatherings that are necessary safe? And I think that is a take that I hold now, because we are not sure when COVID will end. What if it's 2030? Will we not learn for 9 years? I don't think that would be realistic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Most of us are wondering which side of the world are you in? We can see the breeze. You can see it's already daytime from your end. Anyway, thank you so much. Maybe the last person who was part of this discussion to say his or her view about the whole motion before I lock anyone out. In case there's nobody, maybe I can give an opportunity to one of the speakers who was part of this conversation, either the proposing team or the opposing team, a minute. There's something you didn't highlight during your presentation.
I think we should give that minute to Lynn since she didn't say something. I think Lynn can go ahead and submit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lynn, you can proceed and submit a minute.
Thank you so much, Josephine. And just to get back to Josephine, about HIV and coronavirus, I was telling you that these are two different things. We can see that coronavirus can be spread when we have a mass gathering. Well, HIV can't be spread when we have a mass gathering. It can be spread via very many ways, such as blood transfusion. So when you tell us that we should learn to live with coronavirus the way we learned to live with HIV virus, try to think deep inside. These two viruses, they are not spread in the same way. You better be called a coward than risk your life just to attend these gatherings and end up dying even without achieving what you wanted to do in school. You end up dying even without having done something important in that job that you are running so much to do. And also, when we were asked that parents cannot buy gadgets for their student, I specified and said that the money that the government is using to buy desk and run the school project should instead be used to buy gadgets for these students. And you also told my partner that this school has not been specified whether it's physical. Obviously, for a government to say that schools should be suspended, it's obvious, it's physical learning. That's why we are suspending it, to avoid these gatherings. Just like my partner said, we should not put one's interest before the nation's interest. Try to think what will be the effect nationwide than thinking it in someone's personal interest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynette Agoya. Thank you so much, Okoth Abraham Opondo. Thank you so much, Josephine Flora. Thank you so much, Professor Wechuli. You guys have been passionate about this motion, and I believe our viewers from wherever they're watching us from have learned a thing or two, and maybe, or just maybe, they've been convinced to think about suspension of public gatherings and schooling, or rather they think we should work concurrently, assume you're fighting COVID, and keep on doing our business as usual. Thank you so much, and keep on viewing this channel. Keep on following CAMD Voices on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and any other social media platform. We appreciate your time for following us all through. We believe you're going to join us next week on Thursday, same time, different panelists, and amazing topic. This month, we're still discussing issues relating to COVID-19. I don't know what is your view about it. I don't know whether you'd like to be part of it. This is a platform for all of us. And I believe we will start fighting the moment we stop talking. Let us keep talking. Let us keep on providing solutions that will improve our country and will improve the entire world. I've been your host, Derek Were. Until next time, have a lovely evening. Goodbye.